Assalamu alaikum guys and welcome to my YouTube channel Biology Articles and MCQs. Today we are going to start a topic that is osmoregulation in animals. Previously we have studied about the osmoregulation in plants. You know that the osmoregulation means the regulation of water in the body. But one thing that is most important you should know about the osmoregulation is when we study osmoregulation, then we will not also study the amount of water in the animal or plant, whatever you are studying, but also the amount of solutes, or you can simply call salts. Means in this mechanism of regulation, we will generally study the relation of solutes and gain or loss of water between the organism and that specific environment. So in the osmoregulation, we will specifically study the relation of salt and the relation of water also between the organism and the environment. So when we study about the osmoregulation in animals, and then on the basis of the osmoregulation, the animals are divided into two types. The first are osmoregulators and the second are osmoconformers. Firstly, we are going to study osmoregulators. Thus, osmoregulators are the animals that can regulate the amount of water and salts between their body and the environment. Or you can simply say they can maintain the amount of salts or water in their body. When we study osmoregulators, we can say that they maintain or regulate the amount of water or salts. Means simply we take the example of body temperature of human being. We know that the body temperature of human being is 37 degrees centigrade. Then whenever there is increase or decrease in the temperature of environment, our body should have to maintain the temperature of 37 degrees centigrade, whatever the temperature of the environment is, whether it is greater than 37 degrees centigrade in summer or it is less than 37 in the winters. We should have to regulate the temperature of 37 degrees centigrade. Same is the case of the regulation of water or the maintenance of water, amount of water or salts in the body of the organism. When they are osmoregulators, when we talk about the osmoregulators, they have to maintain the specific amount of salts and water that is already present in their body. Means, for example, if we take example that there are simply 10 molecules of water and 20 molecules of salt in the body of an organism. It is just an example. Then it has to regulate these molecules in all cases, whether the environment is hypertonic or it is hypotonic. Means if the environment will be hypotonic, means there will be a high amount of water in the environment. And when the environment will be hypertonic, means then there will be the low amount of water in the hypertonic environment or you can simply say that the salt water environment is hypertonic and freshwater environment is hypotonic. But in both cases, that organism have to maintain or regulate this specific amount in its body. So, the osmoregulators can be marine or freshwater. Means they can live in the marine environment or they can live in the freshwater environment. But they have used to some adaptations or some regulations in order to live in that specific environment. So, moving towards that specific environment, for example, firstly we will talk about the freshwater environment. Let's say it is a freshwater fish. Freshwater environment means there will be the high amount of water in the environment. Means the amount of water is high in the environment and low in the body of that organism. In the same way, the amount of salt in the environment will be low, but in the amount of salts in the body of that organism will be high. This is the freshwater environment having high amount of water molecules in the environment. So simply you know that the amount of water is high in the environment, then it will move from its high concentration to its low concentration, means this is passive movement of water in the freshwater environment, and this is a main problem with that fishes which are living in the freshwater environment. The first problem they are facing, that the water is always running or always rushing from that water reservoirs towards their bodies. But in order to maintain or regulate, they have to move this water outside from their body. So what they have to move this water outside, means this is the first adaptation, or you can say the first regulation we are going to study. In order to move their water from their bodies, they have to excrete a urine, and that urine will be hypotonic urine. Hypotonic urine means that urine will contain high amount of water. In this way, this is the adaptation they are using. So in order to regulate the amount of water that is entering in their bodies, they have to excrete urine, and that urine will be hypotonic urine. So this is the adaptation or maintain, in order to maintain the amount of water in their bodies, they are excreting hypotonic urine. But at the same time, there is also a case of salts, because we said that when we study osmoregulation, there is also the relation of salts and water. So the second is the salt. Now the salts are already less in the environment, so they will be actively taken up by their gills. In order to complete or accomplish their need of salts, they have to take up salts actively, because actively, and that salts will be actively taken up by the help of their gills, means the salts will move from their their less concentration to their high concentration. So we are calling this active movement, and this is the second adaptation. So in the first adaptation, they are regulating the amount of water by secreting hypotonic urine, and in the second adaptation, they are regulating the amount of salts by actively taking up the salts by the help of their gills. And the third adaptation they are using the freshwater environment, the freshwater organisms are using, is they can also take the salt containing food in order to complete their need of the salts. So these are the three adaptations or maintenance properties they are using in order to their regulation of amount of salts and water in their bodies. That is a case of freshwater organisms, or you can say that the organisms that are living in the freshwater environment. But when we move towards the marine environment, or the organisms that are living in the marine environment, they are now facing the environment they are facing is that there is high amount of salt in the water, because this is marine environment, and marine environment has property of high amount of salts in the water, and the amount of water molecules will be low. So they have to now complete their amount of water and salts, as well as the freshwater fishes were doing. So the first problem now they are facing, because there is less amount of salt in the less amount of water in the environment. The problem they are facing, the movement of water from their bodies to the environment, or you can say that into their water is more, because there is less amount of water in the environment and high amount of water in their bodies. So the water is moving passively or from its high concentration to its lower concentration, means they are continuously losing the amount of water from their bodies. So this is a first problem they are facing. So what should they have to do in order to adapt their bodies in a way that they cannot lose the amount of water? So the first adaptation they will use that they will excessively drinks seawater in order to complete their need of water, the specific amount of water that is moving outside to the environment. They have to firstly drinks that seawater in order to complete the need of water. So the first adaptation they are using this, and the second adaptation is that the salts are already in excess amount in the environment. So the second adaptation they will use the salts will passively move from the sea environment to the body of that fish. And there is continuous movement of sorry, this is the second problem they are facing, that there is continuous passive movement of salts from the environment, sea environment, to their bodies. But in order to remove that excess amount of salts, because the salts are not need to the body of fish in this in very excess amount, there should be an adequate amount of salt in the body of the fish. So the second adaptation they will use to remove this excess amount of salt from their body they will excrete concentrated urine. Concentrated urine means that urine will contain high amount of salt in it. So they are maintaining the amount of water in their body by drinking the seawater, and they are maintaining the amount of salts in their body by removing the scanty amount of the high amount of concentrated urine. These are the main two adaptation they are using. And the third adaptation can be the use of the rectal glands. Some fishes also have excreting organs that are called rectal glands, and the rectal glands will actively remove the salt from their body. These the rectal glands have specific function of actively moving the salts from the body. So the marine fishes have they also have these rectal glands. So the third adaptation they are using to live in the marine environment are the rectal glands. So these are the specific adaptations that are taken by the freshwater and marine water environment. Marine water fishes in order to regulate the amount of salts and water, or in order to maintain the osmoregulation, in order to carry out the osmoregulation. One important thing about the osmoregulators is that they are stenohaline. Stenohaline means they can survive in the narrow range of salinities, because then they have to maintain the amount of salts and water in their environment. So they have to live in the narrow range of salinity. Salinity means amount of the salt, the amount of salts in the environment. If there will the fish is already living in the specific environment that have only 10 molecules of salt in the environment, and we will put it into the amount of water, the type of water that have 100 molecules of salt, then that fish will not be able to live in that specific environment. This mechanism is called stenohaline. That this property is called actually stenohaline property. So the osmoregulators are mostly stenohaline. Next, the second category of animals on the basis of their osmoregulation is that some animals are osmoconformers. Osmoconformers are the organisms that have their body fluids, or you can say that the amount of salt and water is always in isotonic condition with their external environment. Means if there are 10 molecules of water and 10 molecules of salt outside the environment, then there will be the 10 molecules of water and same 10 molecules of salt in that body of in that fish body. Then this condition is called isotonic condition, means the amount of water and salt that is present in the environment is the same as the amount of water and salt that is present in the organism's body. Means there is already an isotonic condition, and these organisms don't have to maintain or regulate the amount of salts. They follow the environment. Means if the environment have 10 molecules of water and salt, then they have to follow as such. While we have studied in the osmoregulators that if there are already 10 molecules of water inside the body of that organism, that they should have to regulate is as such. Means they should have to regulate is as such 10 molecules in any way. If there either there is 100 amount of 100 molecules of water outside the environment, or either there is 2 molecules, they should have to regulate. But in a case of osmoconformers, they follow the environment. Whatever the environment is, they should have to follow, and they kept their body in isotonic condition to their environment. Means the amount of water and amount of salts, or you can say simply the osmolarity or simply the salinity of the osmoconformers is same as their environment. They don't have to adjust their internal osmotic state. These type of organisms are called osmoconformers. The osmoconformer organisms are mostly marine, means they live in mostly in the marine environment and have high amount of salts outside their environment. So in this way, because they are all these organisms are osmoconformers, they will maintain as such amount of salts in their body also. Osmoconformers, one important thing about osmoconformers we study is that they are euryhaline. Euryhaline are the organisms that can survive in the wide range of salinity. Means salinity, we have already studied the amount of salts in the environment is simply salinity. So whatever the amount of salts in the environment, they will maintain that amount of that specific amount in their body also. They will maintain their internal and external salinity same. The internal salinity will be same as their external environment. So these are the main differences. I hope you all understand about the osmoconformers and osmoregulators, that how the osmoregulators are regulating their amount of salts and water in their freshwater and marine environment, and all about the osmoconformers that they don't have any need of maintaining or adjusting according to the environment. They simply follow the environment and maintain and then maintain the amount, a specific amount of salts and water as such as the environment. If you like this video, share this video with your friends. Thank you so much.